It was supposed to be a simple stop for the night, a quiet motel, a place to rest. But for Detective Anna Miles, nothing ever stayed simple. She'd been chasing silence after too many loud cases, crimes that left echoes in her head long after the files were closed. And that night, in the middle of nowhere, the silence found her first. The motel sign flickered, a dying neon pulse against the bruised twilight sky. As she pulled into the gravel lot, the place felt less like a sanctuary and more like a secret. She grabbed her suitcase, the handle cold against her palm, and pushed open the glass door to the lobby. The clerk barely looked up as she signed the ledger. His eyes were vacant, as if he'd seen this same scene play out 1,000 times. One key. Room 9. He said it softly, almost like a warning. The hallway smelled of dust and old rain, a scent that clung to the faded floral wallpaper. She passed room 7, then 8, and then the numbers jumped straight to 10. There was no 9. Confused, she walked back, her footsteps the only sound in the oppressive quiet. She counted again. 7, 8, 10. The door was missing, or maybe it had never been there at all. But when she looked down at the tarnished brass key in her hand, the number was stamped clearly. Room 9. Instinct took over. She ran her fingers along the wall where the door should have been. Her hand stopped over a small, almost invisible seam in the paneling. She slid the key into the narrow space, and the air shifted. A faint click echoed down the hall, like a lock turning deep within the walls. Then, right before her eyes, a door materialized. It was made of old, dark wood, with no handle, no knob. Just a faint, unnerving light seeping through the cracks around its frame. She pushed, and it swung open without a sound. Room 9 was small, bare walls, a single neatly made bed, and yet it felt crowded, as if unseen eyes were watching from the corners. On the nightstand, an old radio played static, a faint rhythmic hum that set her teeth on edge. She reached out and turned the dial, hoping to find a station, any sign of the outside world. Instead, a voice whispered through the noise, a voice that was both intimate and chilling. "Welcome back, Detective." She froze, her blood turning to ice. No one had called her that in months, not since she'd left the force. Anna stormed back to the lobby, her heart hammering against her ribs. The clerk was gone. The front desk was empty, the chair pushed back as if he had vanished into thin air. But the guest book was still open on the counter, and there, under today's date, was her name, written in faded ink, in handwriting that looked eerily like her own. But it was impossible. She hadn't been here yesterday. At least, she didn't think she had. The certainty she'd held just minutes ago began to fracture. Back in the room, the feeling of being watched intensified. Drawn by an impulse she couldn't explain, she knelt and looked beneath the bed. Her fingers brushed against something cold and metallic, an old tape recorder. Her hands trembled as she pulled it out and pressed play. A voice filled the small room, a voice thick with exhaustion and despair. It was her own. "I can't leave," the recording whispered. "Room 9 won't let me." She dropped the recorder as if it had burned her. Her heartbeat quickened to a frantic pace. How could she have recorded something she had absolutely no memory of saying? The room was a puzzle, and every piece was a fragment of a life she didn't recognize as her own. She scrambled to her feet and turned toward the bathroom mirror, her reflection staring back, pale and wide-eyed. But then, for a split second, something flickered behind her. A silhouette, a woman standing in the doorway of the room. She looked like Anna, only older, her face etched with a profound weariness. She was wearing the same coat, with eyes that looked like they'd seen this exact moment before. Then, just as quickly as it appeared, the figure was gone. The single lamp on the nightstand flickered once, twice, then plunged the room into absolute darkness. When the lights returned with a sudden jarring buzz, something new was in the room. A manila folder lay on the center of the bed. The title, typed in stark black letters, read, "Room 9, Incident, Confidential." With trembling hands, she opened it. Inside were photos, not of the room, but of her, dozens of them. Every image captured her standing in this same hallway, staring at the blank wall, holding the same tarnished key. Each photo was dated a year apart, going back decades. It was a history of her own ghost, a life she'd been living without her knowledge. Panic finally broke through her detective's calm. She ran. She burst out of the room and sprinted down the hallway, but every turn led her back to the same place. The same stretch of floral wallpaper, the same wall, the same missing door. She threw the key as far as she could, hearing it skitter into a far corner. But when she turned around, it was lying on the floor right behind her. Every time she blinked, the hallway seemed to rearrange itself, the doors shifting their positions. It felt like the motel itself was alive, a predator playing with its prey. The radio on the nightstand came alive once more, its static growing louder, more insistent. That same calm, disembodied voice whispered again, clearer this time. "You checked in, detective, but you never checked out." She stepped closer to the radio, mesmerized by the soft glow of its dial. As she watched, the dial began to turn slowly, deliberately, all on its own. It stopped precisely on channel 9. In that moment, flashes of memory struck her like lightning. The open road, the rumble of thunder, the flickering motel sign, a suffocating sense of déjà vu. She had been here before, years ago. She hadn't been on vacation. She'd been on a case investigating the disappearance of a woman who had vanished from room 9, a woman named Anna Miles. The name hit her with the force of a physical blow. She gasped, staggering back. The static from the radio rose to a deafening scream, and then complete and total silence. When the sun rose, its gentle light streamed into an empty hallway. Room 9 was gone. The wall where it had been was seamless and solid. The key lay on the floor, rusted and cold, as if it had been there for 100 years. A car pulled into the gravel lot. A young woman stepped out, suitcase in hand, looking for a place to rest for the night. From behind the counter, the clerk smiled faintly. "Welcome. Checking in?" He handed her a key. Stamped into the tarnished brass was a single number, 9. Months later, the local police department received an anonymous envelope. Inside was a motel receipt, dated years ago, signed by Detective Anna Miles. The address printed at the top was for a highway that hadn't existed for decades, and in the corner of the faded receipt, a frantic, handwritten note warned anyone who might find it. "Do not enter room 9. Thanks for watching this story unfold. If you enjoy mysteries that linger long after the screen goes dark, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the edge of reality. We'll see you in the next one.